Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on this podcast, the Virtual Summit Podcast. I am super excited about today's episode. I'm joined today with Howard Littman. How are you doing today, Howard?
I'm good, Mark. Good to be with you.
This is going to be such a great episode. I'm really excited about this. We're going to get into some extremely interesting conversation and topics that we have not discussed on this podcast before. So I'm really excited for our audience to hear that. But just a little bit real quick about Howard. He helps Fortune 500 clients learn and collaborate at the speed of light using visual collaboration, organization, and agile methodologies. And he's going to be taking us through some aspects of summits that we haven't discussed in the variation of types of summits and technologies that are available out there, and also the power of visibility. Now, before we jump into these details and get into the weeds there, Howard, why don't you tell the audience just a little bit more about yourself?
Well, sure. So the Human Productivity Lab is a consultancy where we help organizations improve their ability to collaborate using visual collaboration technologies. So video conferencing, telepresence, interactive whiteboards, video walls, meeting room technology that allows you to be more productive between your locations, to be productive in both kind of local meetings and in virtual meetings with people around the world.
Yeah, so I love this. Obviously, as a huge proponent of virtual summits and having a software that works specifically for our kind of online virtual summits, I love to see these other types of solutions for our summit hosts out there. So we're going to be talking about some summits that you may want to expand out and try out at some time and craft and create. And Howard's going to be able to walk you through this information and show you potentially how you can do this as well. Now, before we get into that aspect of it, Howard, we were chatting before we hit go here about quite a few different types of summits, if you will, or aspects or variations of that. I'd love for you to just kind of talk about several of the different ones that you've either hosted or participated in as a speaker. I know you speak quite a bit on these. So just take us through a couple of those variations.
Sure. And so, so as a kind of subject matter expert in telepresence and visual collaboration, I've spoken around the world at a variety of different events. Sometimes I'm live at the event, and sometimes I've been presenting at an event as a telepresence image that is being projected onto a telepresence podium, as an example, to where I've got a black background in whatever venue I am in the world, but somewhere else in the world, my visage is being projected using a technology called a telepresence podium, to where I appear as kind of volumetric. You'd think it was 3D, but it's not really 3D, it's 2D. But because you're at the right aspect ratio of the human eye, it appears that there's a kind of a 3D person standing at a telepresence podium. And that's kind of video conferencing on steroids, and it's kind of a little bit better than if I was just being represented as on a television screen as a virtual speaker. But that's kind of a fun way that I've done it in the past. I've also participated in a digital summit where the environment was very similar to like Second Life, where you are a digital avatar and you are roaming the halls of a digital trade show, where you can go up and interact with other digital trade show attendees, and you're using text, and you're kind of maneuvering around the space with a mouse. And when you get to the digital trade show booth, there are things that you can click on, and it'll play a video, or it will download some information to your to where you're able to save information from the booths that you visit in the digital trade show. And that was, in my opinion, a giant waste of time. And I described it as a digital wasteland populated by digital tumbleweeds, not very successful from what people were trying to achieve. And then there was my all-time favorite was where I attended a trade show driving a telepresence robot. So I logged into a telepresence robot that was physically located in Silicon Valley, and using the controls on my computer, drove the telepresence robot around a real trade show in Silicon Valley, where I could interact with the people at the real trade show booths, but my face was being projected on a screen on the robot, and people that would interact with me would talk to me over the microphone from the robot, and they could see me respond, and then I could drive around and I could visit another booth. Or at one point I was even interacting with other people who were logged into other telepresence robots from around the world. And you've got one telepresence robot talking to another telepresence robot in the aisle of the trade show in the Valley from places around the world. So there's a lot of other interesting ways that one can participate in some of these digital events.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Oh my God, I'm over here cracking up. Like, this is awesome. Honestly, like, this is like, what is it? Like, all of those futuristic movies are finally coming to life. This is incredible. So I want to stick on this just for a little bit longer because it is new and novel, especially for me. Can you kind of talk through that process in the sense of you were an attendee at that? Can you talk through the process of like how it was to set up whatever kind of account you had to do, and then to actually use it? Was it very user friendly? Were there some complications? And what were kind of the benefits of that? Maybe over, for example, you said like the virtual tumbleweed scenario.
Yeah, so with the telepresence robot, it was an event it was a robotics conference in Silicon Valley where a telepresence robot company called Beam, Suitable Technologies is the company, but they made 50 plus of their Beam telepresence robotic platforms available to the attendees. The virtual attendees from around the world were given kind of time slots where they would have the time to log into the virtual robot. Just once you logged into your account, you get the robot's controls on your screen. The robot wakes up, and you begin to drive the robot around this robotics conference in the Valley, and your robot is live with all the other people that are driving the robots. You see robots that are driving past you, but at the same time, there is a real trade show, event going on. And so kind of what I was focused on was I was focused on, what would I be able to get, what percentage of the experience would I be able to get driving a telepresence robot versus attending in person? And it was like a mixed bag. There was, I was able to kind of interact, and I was able to kind of roam the trade show floor in a way that you wouldn't have been able to do if kind of any other format. But it was a little bit slow, getting around. It was, some people obviously didn't want to interact with you. The novelty of the robot had worn off on some. But the most fascinating thing in the whole thing was there are some people that don't like robots, and I'm sitting there driving through the trade show floor in California, And I literally come up to a group, and I'm just kind of parked, and I hear this guy saying, these robots, I friggin' hate these robots. And then I didn't think anything of it for a time. And then I was driving a little bit further, and the guy literally came and he took a chair and he threw a chair in front of the robot, and he stopped the robot. And then he took another chair and he threw it behind the robot, and he tried to stop and like pin my robot with two different chairs. And that's when I realized there are some people out there that really don't like robots.
That's incredible. So it was your robot he was trying to pin, huh?
Yep.
That is a whole nother level. I am, and this is called now. Have you heard of them doing this regularly? Like, I mean, is this something that happens like often now as far as the telepresence robot, or was that kind of a one-off demonstration or just a novelty that was happening?
So this was the first time that they'd ever done it to that kind of scale. You can have, so these telepresence robots have been around for, almost a decade. And so you can have your own telepresence robot, and you can send your own robot wherever you want to do it. And some people, like I know the same company would make robots available at other events that you could do kind of like like they would have the reporters there, but they wouldn't let them, stray too far from the booth. I don't know if it really caught on. I can't say because I haven't looked at the space. This may still be going on. This may have been a, like, hey, we're going to, like a one-time novelty kind of thing. But it seems like it had some legs. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were other venues where you could beam yourself there using a telepresence robot.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to look into this. So having had the experience and the vantage point of participating in essentially all of these different types of virtual conferencing, virtual seminars, and summit environments, you've also participated in the type of virtual summit where it's a series of master classes with the topic or industry experts presenting. You've been a speaker on that. How was your experience with that?
My experience with that is fantastic. There's a number of different companies that kind of make a business out of making everything go successfully. And so on some of those where I've been a speaker, I'm surprised at how well they have it down, where the company is providing a moderator, the company is making sure that there's going to be a rehearsal, that everybody has their slides in time, and that level of kind of concierge service as a speaker is always appreciated. And those tend to be the events that go better when there's an organization that is facilitating all the different speakers, the presentations, making sure that there's a rehearsal, and then everything on the day of the event. They're doing the crowd gathering. They've tweeted it up. They may be in partnership with a media company that is providing the audience in some way, shape, or form from their own audience, or through social media efforts and various means of creating a crowd. But those tend to be the events that I like to do the most.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Yeah, this is by far, I think, super intriguing, and it's a concept I want to highlight right here for our virtual summit hosts that are listening in. This is most summit hosts, or most summit hosts that are putting on these summits, have not taken this aspect of having a moderator or put it to this level. And I think it will show, just even from the information you're providing us, Howard, on the next level of professionalism and just how much better of an experience it would be. And this is something that all you summit hosts listening in should think about. Like, what can you do to increase the professionalism and the quality of your summit? Is there a moderator? Because I know Howard, we have a lot of hosts that they're not the best interviewers, and they're not the best like MCs, if you will, but they feel obligated to have to do it because it is their summit. So I love this kind of concept of having a moderator or of hiring somebody or bringing somebody in to kind of be that professional in between or collaborator, and then making sure that everything is set up properly. Like, this is some great insights there. I know we were chatting just a little bit beforehand about some of the power and importance of visual and visibility. I'd like to go ahead and dive into a little bit of that and hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, sure. So my company, the Human Productivity Lab, we are a consultancy that helps companies use visual collaboration, which I describe as everything from telepresence to video conferencing to being able to use large format visualization in your conference rooms, so that you can take a look at big data. So that every participant is able to see whatever content is being shared from every position in the room. And so what we do is we've worked with some of the largest organizations in the world. We've consulted for Deloitte, Hewlett-Packard, BP, Cisco, others, and we help them get their meeting room technology correct. We help them use agile methodologies to improve their individual and organizational productivity, and we do that with an understanding of kind of human psychology, that 65% of people are what are known as visual learners, and visual learners come to insight much faster and come to a deeper insight when you show them a picture versus just trying to explain a concept to them auditorily. And so the science behind visual learners is about 30% of the cerebral cortex is devoted to vision versus 8% to touch and 3% to hearing. And so essentially, if you think about the eyes are literally growths like brain stalks that have grown out of the brain and are kind of like sensing their environment visually. And that those brain stalks are able to carry about 30% of the traffic, of the bandwidth that's coming in and out of the brain is coming in through the optic nerve, coming in through the eyes. And 40% of the nerve fibers that are attached to the brain are directly linked to the retina. And so the eyes really are this kind of high bandwidth system going into the brain. And most human beings prefer their information visually. And so the human brain is able of understanding. It can register 36,000 visual images an hour, but it can really only understand 400 words a minute. And so when you're presenting information to people, if you're able to give it to them visually when they're sharing content, like during a visual seminar, the fact that you're sharing that content and ideally you're tailoring that content to visual learners to improve their comprehension and their retention of what you're trying to communicate. If you're giving it to them visually, not only are they going to understand it better, they're going to retain it longer, and they're going to come to that insight much quicker when they see a picture that leads them to insight versus just hearing about something. And so that really is the importance of visuals, and that's really the importance of these virtual summits. It's not so much seeing the person, it's seeing the information that they're trying to share with you in a way that your brain is going to be able to digest it and improve retention and comprehension.
I love this. And the irony is not beknownst to me that our summit hosts listening in right now are probably saying, well, Mark, we're listening to this on a podcast. However, I'll let you all know if you go to the show notes, podcast.virtualsummits.com, we're actually recording this. We have some PowerPoint slides going on right now. Howard's showing us some visuals. So he's actually practicing what he preaches right here on this. So even though we're recording this as a podcast and you're tuning into the audio, we do have the visual presentations available. It'll be on YouTube. You can get links to that in the show notes, podcast.virtualsummits.com. So Howard, let's keep going in the visual aspect of this, because I do find this one, fascinating, but two, extremely important, because some of our summit hosts, either by choice or by necessity, because the speakers that they're trying to get on their summit won't do a PowerPoint presentation, but they end up doing these interviews. So essentially what we're hearing and what we're learning right now with you is that if you have the choice, it's always better to present, if possible, some type of visual imagery, whether it's a PowerPoint slide or have a demonstration of something. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And also really to think of yourself as, kind of, I'm presenting visuals in a way that is going to improve the quality of my audience's comprehension. And you're kind of directing a little play, in the sense that you're bringing in the visuals at the right time to reinforce whatever the important point is, whatever the important message is. And one thing that I do want to also kind of emphasize is, even though 65% of people are visual learners, visuals help 100% of participants. Just because the person may not be that, maybe they prefer listening to podcasts over visuals, maybe they're an auditory learner, but 100% of people are benefited by visuals, because people can get a sense of the visual scene in less than a tenth of a second. 70% of the sensory receptors are in people's eyes. There's something, a well-known psychological phenomenon called the picture superiority effect, where ideas that are presented graphically are easier to comprehend and to remember than those that are presented as words. So if I show you a picture of a hammer versus I show you a picture of the word hammer, you're going to remember the picture of the hammer more than the word hammer, which is actually a picture representation of the thought idea of what a hammer is. So if you think about what a word is, it is literally a kind of ideogram of what a hammer is. And so a final example, presentations using visuals are 43% more persuasive than those without visuals. And if you were able to see the visuals that I'm presenting, I have a picture of the kind of crosswalk sign with two people crossing the street. And there is a little visual graphic that points out that it only takes the brain about a quarter of a second to process and attach meaning to a symbol. So when you see the symbol of the people crossing the road, it only takes your brain about a quarter of a second to process that, the meaning of that symbol. But if you actually had to read a sign that said young children are likely to cross the road in this area, watch for them and slow down if they're in the roadway, well, that's going to take about 6 seconds to read 20 to 25 words. So you can see, by kind of communicating with your audience in pictures, you're transmitting more information and they're receiving and processing it at a much faster rate than if they're only listening to you speak.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever, with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
This is so fascinating and so true. It's great to see this laid out like this, because now you have my mind going as far as as virtual summits are concerned, and the hosts that are presenting these and the speakers they're bringing on, the requirements that potentially should be laid out for those speakers. This is great insight, and also how the presentations can be crafted or created. I mean, this is kind of like off the fly here, but do you have examples or maybe any educational pieces on how to craft great presentations or anything like that? Or do you have any insight into that?
I will tell you, like, my favorite pro tip and pro tool is there's a program called Snagit. that allows you to do screenshots, and then there's a variety of tools that let you annotate over the screenshots, so that so it's very easy for you to create instructional pictures, or to be able to capture the right picture and then add the right annotation that brings the person looking at whatever the scene is into insight quicker. And so that's kind of one of my pro tips. And the other one really is just to be kind of thinking, and just like, once you have an understanding that most of the people that you interact with are going to come to a deeper understanding, and they're going to have, they're going to remember that information for longer if they see a picture, then as you're creating a presentation with that in mind, you can't help but say, oh, okay, well, if I know that if I show them an image that they're going to understand it better, most of the time you'll find yourself just, naturally, like, once you have that understanding, adding images in a way that will help your audience with their retention and their comprehension.
This has been phenomenal. And as we get ready to wrap up this episode, just to kind of recap some of the information that Howard has just been putting out there for us, dropping gems left and right, is one, there's a variety of different ways that you can do your summit, and you should experiment and test out these multiple different varieties. Not all of them are going to be great. Some of them may be a little bit ahead of their time, but it's always better to be on the forefront of things than behind. So check out, always stay creative, always keep thinking outside the box. Second, the importance of visibility. And as summit hosts, you're bringing on speakers who are going to be presenting to your audience. So one, you're already a step ahead of the game because you are having this visual, essentially availability of the speaker, but taking it to another level, or to the next level, instead of doing the interview of just the talking heads, looking to have them either do a hybrid version where you're introducing them, bringing them on, and they're still then switching over to presentation or PowerPoint format so they can give those visibility, the visuals, or just having them present full, like create a presentation and put that fully out, could be ideal. And then also, as Howard was just saying, using imagery over even words is even more powerful, and it lasts longer, and we remember that better. This has been extremely beneficial, extremely intriguing and interesting for me, Howard. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and educate me and my audience on this. I'd like to kind of turn it over to you for any kind of final words of wisdom that you'd like to leave our summit hosts with.
No, so that you've got all my wisdom. It all centers around just understanding the psychology of human beings, realizing that 65% are visual learners. They learn best and they learn fastest when they see something versus just hearing something. And if you can craft your content to address that dynamic, then you're going to be more successful as a virtual speaker, and as a presenter, as a trainer, and whatever you're trying to communicate. You're going to be a more effective communicator by speaking with visuals than just by speaking alone.
So true. Such great wisdom. Thank you again, Howard, for taking the time, joining us, educating us, elevating us. Everybody listening in, all our summit hosts out there, we're going to have links to how you can connect and talk with Howard, access to some of these visuals that we were showing here on our YouTube channel, and then the ability to look at what Howard's doing, what he's got going on. You can find all of that in the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com. One last time, thank you very much, Howard.
Thanks, Mark. You have a good day today.
You too. And thank you, Summit hosts, for joining me and Howard and spending this time with us. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.